All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is Taylor with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today we are going over print marketing. So we're going to walk through creating a flyer, through designs. I'm going to show you guys how you can order it if you'd like. And then we're also going to walk through a listing presentation. We should have time to get through both of those. Feel free as we go to throw any questions you have in the chat. I'm going to do my best to watch those and answer as we go. If we have time at the end of class, I'll also revisit any questions that may have gotten missed. You can also watch this recording once it is done being uploaded to our YouTube channel. Or you can find any of our previous recordings if you're looking for the same topic. Or we have quick tip videos. We have lots of options there on our YouTube channel. All right, we're going to start by getting logged into Command. So going to agent.kw.com and logging in using your username or password. And then once you're logged in, we're going to go to Designs. So if you actually click on the red KW in the corner, the menu will pop out so you can actually see the words associated with each applet rather than having to hover over each one to figure out where you're trying to go. All right, and then once you select designs, you're going to be brought here to your designs dashboard. This is going to look different for everyone. Any design that you've used or you've selected a template and started editing is going to be available here. And then we're going to create design, which is going to be in the upper right-hand corner. You may also see a plus sign in the bottom area of your screen as well. And today we're just focusing on print. Like I said, we do have other classes we teach throughout the month, and those recordings can be found on our YouTube channel. I'm also going to put in our support email. That way, if you have questions that maybe are more specific for your system, maybe something's not working right, or you're getting an error on your end, you can always email our support team so that they can help troubleshoot what may be happening or take a look at that for you. All right, so now we are in the WeBrand editor. So we are dropped into the templates here. First thing that I'm going to suggest we do is update your brand assets. These are going to be your frequently used items that are on pretty much all of your marketing material. That way, when we go to edit, you don't have to manually add everything. I'll show you when we get to templates, but there are going to be, with each of these assets, you're also going to have the preloaded Keller Williams options. So right here, you'll see we have color palettes. You don't actually have to add the Keller Williams color palette. That will already be provided to you. But if you're on a team or you have your own branding, you can add that color palette here. Same thing with fonts. You're going to have a ton that the system already has available for you. But if you use a different font, you can always select from web fonts here. All you have to do is toggle it on and it'll add it to your menu. You can try to upload a font from the web if you download that file. Whether or not it's compatible with the system is up in the air. Unless you try and it failed, you're not necessarily going to have a way of knowing. But like I said, there's tons of options already available. I'll show you guys when we get to actually editing one. So don't worry about this one too much unless you know of a font that you use often in your marketing. Images is where we recommend your headshot going. Text boxes. I have all of my, obviously not real information, but some of this you can just easily add text. There's already a bunch of labels for you. You just label it, enter what you want the text box to say, and then save. And that adds it to your text boxes. So we can easily swap out text rather than having to manually type it in on everything that we create. Logos is where we recommend your KW branded logos. If you have any generic KW logos that you use, your team logo if you're on a team, or if you have your own branded logo for your business, we recommend that going here. And I'll show you guys. You'll see on my example, it might actually be hard to see, but there's different color schemes. We have gray and black, white and gray, there's red in there, different transparencies. Some of these have a white background. Some of them don't have a background color at all. To find all of the available logos for your market center, you can go to mykw.kw.com. And then at the top in the middle of your screen is a section for marketing. And then logos and branding is the first section right here. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll find market center logos. So here you can search either your market center number or by name. And then you can download and have the folder of all of the available. Sorry guys, this is on my other screen. So here within each of these folders, you'll have a PNG version of each of your logos. These are the ones that you're going to want to drag and drop into your asset menu. Oops, too far. So that you have all of the available logos. Elements are more like shapes or icons that you use often. Videos, obviously trying to add a video to any print document that you plan on having is not necessarily going to play. But this will be helpful if you're creating a lot of social designs and you want to link a video in there. Same thing with files. If you have a PDF that you need to send out on most of your marketing, you can upload that here. The three main ones are images, text, and logos, simply because typically you'll have your headshot, your name, your contact information, and logo on pretty much anything you create. Once those are updated, we can go back to templates. Now, all of these templates in each category are going to be designed for print. So it may look a little different than all of your like social images if you're trying to make kind of one and the same, like create a social image, but then also print it on a flyer. Then we have a tip video that can help with that. Essentially, you just save your social design as an image and then upload it when you go to make your print document. There's a question in the chat. Can we create video email? So that is, so when you're in the menu selecting the type of design that you want, video will create. Right now, the only thing available is the neighborhood snapshot videos designed for social posting. But if you're referring to adding a video to an email design so that you can send it out either in a smart plan or a campaign, that is possible. You can email our support team for either the class on email campaigns. I believe I taught that last week, or maybe it's coming up on the calendar still, I don't remember. Either that full class, or I'm sure we have a tip video that can help with that specific piece, depending on what your questions are. All right. So for this, we're going to do a for sale listing flyer, for example. Within each of these subcategories, you'll find lots of different templates. Some of them are still being loaded, like you have the subcategory, but KW hasn't released the template into them. So if you get this error on some of them, that's normal. That just means KW hasn't pushed those through yet. But there should be, there's lots of new ones, to be honest. But there should be lots of templates available already for you. Once you've selected the subcategory you're looking for, you can also filter by the sizing, the template. So we have door hanger size, a typical 8.5 by 11 flyer. And then you have standard postcard, 11 by 17 bifold. Trifold on an 8.5 by 11 paper, and then 11 by 17 bifold horizontally. So you have lots of different ones that you can choose from. We're going to stick with just a flyer right now. And that'll give you the specific template sizing. That way you're not trying to create something if it was designed for an 11 by 17, but then you have to try to resize it. That way it's more ideal and more streamlined for you. And then once you have your design that you want to use, you just hover over it and click use. And that brings you into the actual editor. All right, up here you can rename your design. So this is template number 10, but I like to have it be something associated with the property that we're creating a design for. That way I can easily identify it. I like to leave this FS and FL because that tells me it's a for sale flyer. But you can rename this to whatever is going to be helpful for you. And now we're going to start editing our template. So first thing I'm going to do, select this text box. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to pull up this listings information from KWLS. That way I have all of the information easily accessible. Now for this, for listing, we recommend searching by the MLS number. If you search by listing address, it's going to pull up any variation of the address. So this is just going to give you less options to choose from. You have less overlapping MLS numbers. So once we have our listing, we're going to select it. And I'm going to switch to listing details because we first selected this text rather than the photo. Now, you do have the options here, pulling all of the information, where you can swap out the text that's in the box. However, this one specifically has two pieces of information. We have the address and the listing price. So if I were to come over here and just replace, it's going to remove that. My back button is not working. Interesting. They may be doing some updates. So hopefully we don't have too many of those types of glitches here. So the other option, instead of swapping that so that we can keep the formatting, is either double click and editing that in the text box, or there's a typewriter function right here. It might be really hard to see the icons. But if you select that, it pops open your text box on the right-hand side. And my list price. And I'm just reading this from the details over here. Obviously, if this is your listing, you might know these off the top of your head, or maybe you're creating a flyer for an open house you're doing for someone else. It would be helpful to have the information pulling over here. And then you have your normal, text editing options here, text alignment. Here's where you can see that font download. So the library fonts, these are the ones that are already loaded for you, or you have added them. You've used them recently, or you added them from your assets. Sizing, color. You can easily swap out whether you want all lowercase or all uppercase, just in case you wanted that function. This is something new they added, so that's very exciting, at least in my opinion. And then here you have featured listing. You can change this to say whatever you want. Same thing, just using the editing function. Now I'm also going to select this photo. And then still connected to our listing in the KWLS, we have photos. And then I'm just going to replace. Don't know why that loaded at a funny angle, but you can use whichever one you'd like. Just dragging and dropping to where you like the look of it. You can just adjust this however you want. Dragging that. Changing your font size. Same thing, swapping out your photos depending on what you want to highlight. Now I'm choosing to replace. If I were to come in here and add the photo, it's just throwing it in a new image space on top of everything else, which you're totally welcome to do, but sticking with the template here. And just adjusting it. You can use the arrows on your keyboard. And then down here, I'm going to zoom in more on this bottom section because the font is rather small. So hopefully it's easier to see. Going to move that one down, but here we have general text. You can use, type in your description of the home. We also have in the listing details, we have our property description. So you can just replace the text there. And then adjusting it for, the size, how much information you want. If you don't like the look of it, you can adjust, your normal text. And then we're going to replace our headshot. So now instead of KWLS, we're going to go to images. If you didn't update your assets, you can upload a headshot here to this design so that you can add it. You can either drag and drop or load it from any of these places. You do have the option for stock photos. And then there's also a free filter. So you may want to use some photos that are stock images, but some of them are required to have a payment to use. So just be aware of that if you do choose to use stock photos, to select based on whether or not you need to pay for it. Workspace, so that's the generic KW folders. So here you have market expert, there's graph images, miscellaneous. These are more kind of stock images, but ones that KW provide to you. So you don't have to pay for them if they require payment. So that may be helpful. Maybe you don't like this image, but you want something else. Just swap that out. But then in my assets, since we're in images, that's where you can. Okay, that is odd. We're selecting the image, but it's not giving the option to swap it out. So for this, we're going to just add in the photo. Oh, it looks like there was a layer on top of her image. So now that we removed that, we have the option to replace the image. It looks like there was a square in front of it. So replacing. Just adjusting that a little bit. And then same thing here that we just did with the images, but if you go to text, you have my assets so that we can replace the text. And that way we're keeping the size, the color, the font, everything's cohesive with what we've been using. Or again, you can double click or use the typewriter. Download my app code. So in my assets, that's what this is supposed to be. So I could just replace the text there with what my actual app code is. Then we have DBA name. So here you'll notice it switched to logos on the left-hand side. Again, workspace, the KW ones, but these are generic. So here we'll go to my assets. And pick whichever one we want to use. And then same thing down here, just like up above, we have multiple items within this text box. So if we go to KWLS, our listing information, we're going to want to manually update our bed. And now it's pulling total bathrooms and full/half. So just be aware of that when you're looking. You'll just want to make sure that you're advertising appropriately. And square feet, it kind of grays out because we're typing over here. So just looking at that. And then either making sure this is accurate, or if you don't want it, you can totally remove it at the same time. Readjust. Once you're in here, this gives you kind of the full editability for the most part. All right, now that's our flyer here for this property. This could be open house, or maybe just the listing information. Now you have the option. I'm going to make sure to save just in case. Now you can order print, and this is going to go through WeBrand. I'm blanking right now. But you can order it directly through this provider. And selecting that, you're going to walk through selecting whether you want glossy or non-glossy paper, how many copies of this you want. And it's going to give you your estimate down here. You're going to review. There is a question in the chat. How are you scrolling so you can see the whole flyer and enter data? So I am using my mouse to scroll if I'm zoomed in so that I can, like we said, this font is smaller, so I zoomed in so it was easier for you guys to see it on your end. But then just zooming out to 100%. That way you can see the whole thing. So when you're in your review stage, it's going to go over your bleed area. So a lot of times either your shapes or your images may be over the bleed line. So that's what these, warnings are. It's kind of throwing me off that half of my photos are just a little cockeyed, but this is just an example, so I'm not going to take the time. So you'll just want to make sure that all of the important information is within the bleed line. You can go through and go back through and edit all of these if you want. But like for this, I purposely did a lot of that. The top of my screen is the exact same as yours, except I don't have the order print. Typically, if you don't see order print, that tells me you may have selected social rather than print design when you created this. But they often do updates to the system that can cause kind of weird things. So I would say double check to see if you're actually in the print material or the print templates. And if so, email our support team and let them know like what's going on, and we can help troubleshoot, what's going on, or if this is a glitch that we need to let KW know about. All right, so I'm also going to check these boxes for downloading your proof. So this is going to download our design as a PDF. And it's a good thing to just, keep once it loads. Hopefully I don't freeze the screen. It's hard, it's grayed out while this is a pop-up, but we have a progress bar here. So it says preparing. We should start seeing our percentages, and now we have our download here. So you can save this to your desktop if you want, or a folder on your computer. I'm also agreeing to the terms and conditions. And then your information here, name, email, shipping address typically is going to go to your market center for you. But I think you can add it manually if you want it sent somewhere else. And then card information so that you can pay for your order. And then once you place order, that's going to send it so that it can be processed. It's still going to take time to be processed and then mailed to you. So be aware of that. Don't necessarily, like if this was an open house flyer and I wanted it to be available for an open house I'm doing tomorrow, obviously ordering through here isn't going to get that to you in time. However, you are able, instead of ordering print, if you download, I always recommend PDF for printing. It's supposed to be a higher quality. And then download. I know we just did this with the order print, but just wanting to show you it does the same thing. We have our progress down here. There we go. And now we have our new PDF. You can save this. This then you can use if you have a decent printer at home that you want to use. You can print this off at home. If you want to print this at the office, you can email that PDF to yourself, print it at the office. You can send it to a local print shop if you want. At that point, like it's your PDF, you can print it however. You don't have to order the print through here. And that way you'll have it quicker, depending on whether you still outsource it or if you do it yourself. There's another question about, it looks like you're having issues downloading. For that, I'm going to say, like, send our support team an email with what you're trying to do, screenshots of what you're experiencing, and they can kind of take a look and see if it's something in command or if it might be something on your computer, and whether or not we can figure out what it is. So then when you hit done, that's going to save everything one more time. And now you have your preview here. So we have, it's labeled print. And then I know that this is a for sale flyer based on the name I chose to save it with for this address. So I can easily, if I needed to go back in here, print more, whatever it is, I can easily click on that. I can also make a copy. So let's say I wanted to make a flyer, the same flyer, but for a different property. I can make a copy, go in here, and use the same template. It still has all of my information loaded. So then I can specifically just use a new listing. I was trying to pull something up quick, but then I could just go through and do that. My copy didn't save, so that's a little funny. So now we're going to go through, we are really running out of time, guys. So for the listing presentation, this is a big one that we get. So I want to make sure that I can at least kind of walk through editing. It's essentially going to be the same type of editing. Again, when we create a design, we're going to select print. Where do you save it? So once you download it, you can save it wherever you like. You don't even technically have to download it. That's just up to you if you're trying to print it somewhere else. Some people add it to their desktop. Some people have a specific folder for the property saved on their computer. It just depends on where you want it. Okay, so under listing, I'm going to select listing presentation, and that's going to give us the options here. And again, I'm going to use, now this one might take a little bit more time loading just because it's an actual booklet. There are several pages, so it might be hard to see. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see pages, and that will pop out your menu so you can see all of the available pages in this template. Now, what I recommend doing is finding a listing presentation template that you want and then saving it as a template. So and then making sure that this is personalized to you already in the branding and the way your business runs and all of that. But then you can come in here, you can make a copy and then add client specific information when you have a client to prepare this for. So moving to page 2, this is an instructions page designed for you as the agent from Keller Williams. So each of the templates will have this on page 2. You do not want to give this page to your client. So after reading it, it's basically just telling you like what they created it for and, how to edit it, that type of thing. You want to delete page number 2. I probably did that way too fast. So on the right-hand side, I selected the 3 dots. You can duplicate or delete. So I want to delete page number 2, and now we have a new page number 2. So here we have client name, and this is just my personal preference. I like to make everything an obnoxious color that doesn't go with my branding. And I say obnoxious, I just mean different, so that when I have a client, I know where I need to edit. But then this is my information. So again, coming through and replacing images, my assets, replace. Same thing with text, same thing with logos. And then moving on, some of these pages are designed to not need anything personalized on it. So this is just a stock image. You're welcome to replace these, make it more, I don't even know. If you don't like this image, you can use other stock images. You still also have the workspace. So if you want house exteriors that KW has prepared for you, you can switch that. There's a question in the chat. Where do you get a pic of the home you're doing the listing on? So unless you find a previous listing, like you can search KWLS for previous listings, like maybe when the house was listed for when the client bought it. But who knows how long ago that is. So that's up to you. And if your client is comfortable with you taking a picture, and then you can just add it here from your device. All right, and then this page is your property. So this is all going to need to be my color indicating that I need to edit it. Same thing with my text because it's talking about the neighborhood. So I just want to double check when I have a client that this is all accurate. Again, if you have a client you're preparing this for in the moment, you're going to have more of these stats and this information so you can customize it as you go. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to do the neighborhood one. Even though, again, as a template, this would all be needing to be changed based on my client, but I want to show you guys how to replace this image. So just like we found our listing, we're going to go to KWLS, but we're going to look for snapshots instead of listing. And here you can either do neighborhood name or postal code. And once that loads, you'll find different templates. So filling that in, just replacing. And now we have that person's zip code in here. So it has stats. Or if you search by neighborhood name, you can find options here, and within each neighborhood, I just searched a town, so that's why. Looks like stats aren't pulling from next door for this neighborhood, so I probably don't want to include that. So it's just gonna, depending on obviously what area your client's in, or something like that, you'll want accurate information. But that's how you replace the snapshot. And there are pages in here for your comparable properties. So if you did a CMA and you want to include that here in the listing presentation, you can, just like before, find the listings and pull that information. Or maybe you'd rather keep your CMA separate. You can then just delete these pages. And this is more of a generic page. I call it filler page, so I'm going to leave that there. And then here, the text box, it doesn't like to space this properly to line up with these bullet points. So for that, you just want to make sure that all lines up, make sure everything is accurate. So there is some finagling that you're going to have to do just to make sure everything, pulled properly, or that kind of thing. Make sure everything lines up with how you do business. I think I missed something somewhere. Oops. Undo. You can also just work on spacing that way, except I want the whole text box. Okay, it looks like there might be some wonky things going on, but we are at the end of class, so I just wanted to really kind of walk through this. Again, we have filler information, but some of these you're going to want to make sure that you want to include it. Making sure any pages that have your information, you get that switched. And all of that. And then, so I'm going to pretend like all of this has been edited to have my information. We're going to save it. So now in our menu, I see my listing presentation template. So then when I have a client that I'm preparing this for, I can make a copy. And once it loads, again, with several pages, it can take a little extra time than the ones that have just one page. There we go. I can come in here, rename it. Add my client's name, and then come in here and start editing the presentation with the client's information and the client's neighborhood and making sure that it's accurate for them. And then again, you can either order it through the editor, or you can download all of the pages as a PDF and print it and create your presentation however you want it formatted. All right, guys, I know I went through the listing presentation really quickly. A lot of the editing is the same as, the flyer that we did. So I focused more on the pages. But we are at the end of class, so I want to be respectful if someone needs the account after me. I'll put our support email in the chat again for you. That way, if you have any questions that I might have missed, or if you want us to take a look at your system specifically, if something's going on, you can email us and our team will gladly take a look, see what may be going on. Again, you can also catch any of our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search Scott Leroy Marketing, you'll find our whole channel here where you'll have our recent uploads. We try to upload these recordings same day by the end of the day, but it just depends on processing time and how many we're uploading. So you can also search per topic. So if you wanted to find one of our more recent classes, the same class but more recent recording, then you can find that here as well. You can also, on our website, check out our calendar, log in using your Market Center number on our website, and then under training, you can have your training calendar. We have a new option here where you can vote on what class you want us to teach. So if you scroll down, you'll see our full calendar, but there are 2 Fridays per month where you can vote on a class that you want us to teach, and we'll take a look at possibly adding that for you. So that's a new cool thing that I wanted to highlight as well, because we really are wanting agent feedback. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. And again, email our support team if you have any questions.